Hello and welcome to Trading Hour on CNBC TV 18. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Prashant Nair. Well, it's turning out to be a session which is actually quite volatile for the markets today. We've been flitting between red and green for most of the trading session, and it seems as though the Nifty is currently just about flattened out, just about hovering around those 50-day moving average levels for the Nifty. It's weak globally, but we are resilient as compared to what we are seeing on the global screen. However, week to date, we've still lost out around 1.5% to 2% for the Nifty. So we haven't really started off 2019 on an extremely positive growth, not to mention all of the weak global growth data which we've been reckoning with. A lot of stocks in focus, which we will be discussing. So IT stocks are lower in today's trading session. They all are weak, possibly on the appreciating rupee. Plus, we have a couple of other stocks which we will be discussing, such as Jet Air, which is down around 14% on a week-to-date basis. Hi, Prashant.
Ekta, hi. So, the Nifty actually, as we speak, is just about coming back into the green. I think we already would be in the green. Okay, 3 points is all that is standing between where we are and between the green territory. 10,667 has been big swings. I was frankly surprised given the buoyancy early on that we saw, especially given the very weak cues we had from global markets. And then the market sold off, and sharply so. And the lows aren't sustaining even. We are bouncing, as you can see on your screen. So there is a fair bit of pull and push dynamic at play here. Remember, the big talking points are all global. At least for now. It is going to become local politics, elections, etc. for the next many months. You can be sure of that. But for now, it's essentially the very rocky end to 2018 and the very edgy start to 2019 as far as, what else? Global markets and especially US markets are concerned, which is really the dominating driver at this point. We'll get to the global cues in a bit more detail, but let's bring in Sudarshan Sukhani. Okay, Mitesh is with us today. Mitesh, thanks very much. Good morning. Good to have you as always. So is this a strong market or a weak market? So the initial bounce is sold off, and then the sell-off is bought into.
Yeah, good morning, Prashant. So my sense is that one, it is a weak market. We have had a fall for about, this is the third session in continuation where we are having a fall. So, you will see some shorts taking profits and some kind of oversold levels on the hourly charts kicking in, suggesting the stability. But if you look at the overall indicator structure, my sense is that the market is possibly looking at much more decline. So unless until we capture levels of 10,725, 750 on the upside, I think chances are that we'll head to 10,550 first, and if that breaks, 10,430, 420 could also be tested.
Okay, well, at least something is chirping, and if it's not the markets, it's definitely some birds that Mitesh has in his background. But nonetheless, Mitesh, what are the stocks that you'd be recommending?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't control them, so. But I have a buy on Balrampur Chini with a stop at 105 for targets of 119, and Voltas is a sell with a stop at 538. Look for targets of 512. Okay.
Well, we have a Twitter query for you, Mitesh. Niranjan has 300 shares of HPCL at 450. Wants to know whether he should average or hold the stock.
HPCL, I think, to me, does look like a stock which possibly is getting into, it's already gotten into a negative zone and now is getting close to support areas of around 220, 210. In fact, last month low was 216. So try to bite around those levels of 220 once you get them. I think the stock hasn't yet given a reversal. So there's a chance that, we will see some choppiness and the stock could still be available closer to about 220. Keep a stop below 210. Get your average price down, and on a bounce back, try to sell around 280, 285 zones.
Okay. What about a couple of these IT stocks, Mitesh? What would you recommend on, say, a TechM, on a TCS, Infosys? Even a couple of these mid-cap IT stocks are not doing well today.
See, I think today there's some kind of a breakdown. The Nifty IT index, I think, I commented in the morning as well. I think it's now showing signs of testing the recent lows of 13,800. And we've already seen a 2% kind of decline already happening in the IT index, and I think there's another 2 or 2.5% could happen. So which means that the stocks will also decline by 3 to 4% in the next 2 to 3 sessions. So I would be slightly negative. Speaking particularly on Tech Mahindra, I think that's something which has broken a good support zone of around 687, 690. So I think mild short positions can be taken with a stop just above 690, and 650, 655 could be a good target here.
Okay, all right, Mitesh, we'll let you go on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking to us. Just want to point out that it is Ashok Leyland also which is showing significant weakness. That stock is now sub 100 rupees. It's down only around 1.7% in terms of percentage terms. But if you see the kind of fall that we've seen for Ashok Leyland from levels of over 150, 160 last year, it's been quite seminal. But let's talk a little bit more about growth factors. Prashant is joining in to give us a whole summary of all what he's seeing in terms of statistics globally when it comes to growth. Prashant.
Well, it is all global. I mean, absolutely no question about it with the way the financial markets around the world have been gyrating. And I'm going to list out three, okay, maybe four factors, the four big factors which are at play here. Really, I mean, at any given point in time, in any market, there are various factors at play, but a couple of them really are the dominating drivers. So, I mean, let's get straight into it. The first, of course, is data. We've been talking for the last, 48, 72 hours about the PMI numbers from around the world being weak. The big one overnight was the ISM data out of the US, which actually did confirm that a global slowdown is underway. You know, it was steeply lower as compared to what the consensus forecasts were. The subcategories within the ISM data were also pretty weak. On the positive side, again yesterday, we had auto retail sales numbers in the US, and across the board, they are better than what the consensus expectations were. So, you know, it's not, especially with regards to US, you got some good news, you got some bad news, but I think at the margin maybe the opinion which is building in is that maybe growth is still okay, is still strong in the US relative to the rest of the world, but it is also slowing down. Let's come to the second factor. Again, this is mostly coming out of the US. The tech sector, the technology sector, where the weakness is persisting, not only in the factory level, ground level, as we saw with that guidance cut coming in from Apple, citing worries and slowdown in China, but also as far as the tech financial space is concerned. I mean, actually, if you looked at the overnight trading session in the US, some big tech names were down almost as much as 9% intraday. Here in Asia, the tech supply chain companies, I mean, especially out of Taiwan, etc., remain under pressure. That's not a problem here in India directly, but it does impact sentiment. Let's come to the third factor, which is China itself. So, I mean, the big number, of course, was the official manufacturing PMI earlier in this week. That's got into contraction territory, below 50 for the first time in 2 years. We got some good news today. The services PMI is actually expanded. It's better than consensus and it's higher than the last November print. So that is good news. But, you know, we are still awaiting a couple of other numbers. GDP, the fourth quarter GDP numbers, for example, are expected to post a slowdown. But that's only later. We'll talk about it when it actually comes through. This morning, there are some news reports which suggest that there have been some peer-to-peer lender defaults, etc. Remember, authorities in China have been cracking down on the shadow banking system, you know, and maybe this is a result of that. The amount which is being cited is about $350 million. It's small, of course, very small compared to the size of that particular market. But one does sit up and take note because there have been a fair bit of concern about that in China. Okay, now I come to some forward-looking cue, and this is a big one, and it's, you know, Fed people make speeches all the time. The Fed chairperson is also is regularly seen and heard. But given the persistent weakness we've seen in financial markets, this speech today by Jeremy Powell has taken, I guess, a bit more importance and will be watched a bit more keenly. So he's talking today, and you know, the market is already pricing not a hike. It's already pricing in some easing from the Fed, right? So there is a sharp contrast between what the Fed pricing is, what the market pricing in is, and what the Fed has so far guided. Mohammad El-Erian has some advice for Powell with regards to the speech later today. He says that the Fed, Mr. Powell, should indicate to the market very clearly that the balance sheet reduction is not an autopilot, which is quantitative tightening. The reversal of easing is not an autopilot. The Fed is cognizant of weakness in financial markets and can actually course correct if necessary. That's a big one. We'll watch what happens. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Prashant. Thanks very much for that. As of now, the Asian markets are showing some amount of a pullback. Shanghai, Hang Seng, all of these markets are currently higher. But we have some important source-based information which is flashing on your screen. Nimish joins in to update us with regards to ICICI Bank and Axis Bank. on the SR Oil Rosneft deal. Nimish.
So, this is what I've picked up from sources that both ICICI Bank and Axis Bank, which are the key Indian lenders for SR Oil, have got the payment for, in Q3, which is in December, and they've got the payment. So, it is very significant because, especially for ICICI Bank, because what I understand is ICICI Bank has received $540 million, which was outstanding for SR Oil Rusef deal in Q3. So, this will be reported in the Q3 numbers. This whole amount was fully provided for in the past. So this entire money will be shown in the Q3 results in ICICI Bank. Similarly, for Axis Bank, what I understand is Axis Bank has also got some close to 600 crores, from as part of this whole deals which was structured way back in 2016. So this is what we've picked up from sources. Officially, though, Axis Bank said we do not comment on any client-specific matters, and Axis Bank did not respond to this investigative inquiry. Just to give a background to this whole story, Ekta, in 2016, when the whole SR Oil Rusef deal happened, at that point in time, there was an outstanding due of close to $3 billion for Standard Chartered. At that point in time, Standard Chartered took a 70% haircut and took the money, and they wrote off completely, and they were completely out of the SR Oil Rusef deal. Whereas as far as the Indian lenders were concerned, there was an exposure of close to $1.5 billion. They had received half the money way back in 2016, and for the rest of it, there was a staggered payment, which probably is now come to both ICICI Bank and Axis Bank. Significant is only for the fact that because both ICICI Bank and Axis Bank had only fully provided for this loan, now that this money is coming in December, and what I understand from analysts as well, that this will be fully provided. Well, it was fully provided. This will be shown in the Q3 numbers for both Axis Bank and ICICI Bank. Significant for ICICI Bank simply because $540 million will work out to close to 3,800 crore, which will probably come into the ICICI Bank accounts in this Q3 numbers, which will be reported later in the month. So clearly, that's what, as things stand, both ICICI Bank and Axis Bank have fully recovered the amount which are due from the SR Oil Rusef deal way back in 2016, and this whole money has come in the December end quarter.
Okay, and that's definitely going to show in the Q3 numbers as well in terms of, say, recovery or a reversal in provisions. Yes. So important news which is coming in and important for the financials as well. In fact, Axis is at the high point of the day, and ICICI Bank has reversed a little bit in terms of losses as well. Take a break?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a quick break. I mean, the market, by the way, is up 15 points. It's a sharp reversal. For the second time, we saw a big reversal from the day high. Now we got a sharp reversal from the day low. So 10,686 is where we find ourselves at in the Nifty. We take the first break here on the show. We come back, commodities in focus. Manisha Gupta to talk about the 2019 oil and gas outlook with Vikas Alan of Moody's Investor Service. That conversation coming up.